This is the Tech Support Guy Show, episode 55 for Sunday, May 20th, 2012. Crazy GTX gestures. Welcome to the Tech Support Guy Show. I'm Mike Cermak, known on the site as Tech Guy, and with me today is Jacob Mueller.
Hello.
How you doing, Jake?
Doing well, sir.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. You're enjoying this beautiful weekend by staying inside and in front of a computer?
Unfortunately, no. As you can tell by my awesome sunburn, I've been outside for the last 2 days building a shed. Completely not geeky.
That is not geeky. Do you have Wi-Fi in the shed at least, or...?
I did. If it helps at all, I had a Mac streaming Pandora outside while we were working. Does that
that counts? Yeah, that counts. And the fact that you have the pale geek skin that instantly turns red in the sunlight.
It's true, unfortunately.
Don't get me wrong. I am guilty of the same thing. So let's jump into it here. We got a couple of stories we want to talk about today. The first story that caught my eye, someone posted on Tech Support Guy. Let me see who that was so I can try and give him a little bit of credit. This was by actually Tech Social, our social networking guy. Is that the Knowledge Graph by Google? I don't know if you saw this. Google's been kind of touting this new search engine technology that they're using. It's very subtle, and they're just starting to roll it out, called the Knowledge Graph. And the idea is if you look up something that it can... Oh, good, it just worked on mine. I think they're starting to roll it out wider. If you search for... Let me bring this up on my screen for those who are watching the video. Search for a person or something that Google knows a lot about, like Mark Twain. I just typed in Mark Twain up at the top, and then over here on the right, where there's usually a list of ads, there's actually a block of information about Mark Twain. It tells you his actual name, Samuel Longhang Clemens, better known as pen name Mark Twain, American author and humorist. Click this link for Wikipedia, born at this date, died at this date, full name, spouse, children, and a list of books, and also people who also search for other ones. So if you're looking for Mark Twain, maybe you're also interested in Charles Dickens, Albert Einstein, Ernest Hemingway, Edgar Allan Poe, etc. So it's kind of a neat feature that, you know, if you're looking for something, you don't have to go to the Wikipedia. If you want to know when someone was born, a famous person, or basic information about them, it's, you know, right there. So
when Bing.com was released, Microsoft's punch at Google, they had something that was really similar, and that was sort of like their selling point. So how is this different than what they have?
Well, the big difference, the big thing that Google's pushing is that this isn't just a matter of putting that little box on the side. It's actually much deeper in the search engine integration itself, so that if you're searching for something, it has an idea if what you're looking for is a person, place, or thing. And they give some examples of animals and different things that, if you, depending on the context that you search for, it can tell it's not just a random string of characters. It's not just a string that they're trying to match. It actually has some understanding of what that means in context. And they gave some examples. I'm trying to find it now. I don't think I have it in front of me at the moment. But where if you search for something that could be, depending on the context, the same word could mean a number of different things, then it's nice that Google makes it. As if Google's search results aren't already amazing. I mean, everyone knows if you go to Google and you search for something, it's no matter how obscure it is or specific, it's remarkable how within the first page there's usually the perfect link for you. And I think they're just trying to take it a step further.
I'm sorry, Mike. How many people ever go to the second page in Google, I wonder?
That's an excellent question. I bet very, very few. Because who needs to? If it's not within the first page, it usually means you typed it in wrong.
Yep. And that means you have to go to Yahoo and search, right?
Right, or Bing. That's what everyone does, right?
Yep, exactly. I just quit right there. If it's not on the first page of Google, I just...
it doesn't exist.
Shut down the computer and go cry in the corner.
You're doing it wrong. If it's not on the first page of Google, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Google makes it into a much bigger deal than perhaps what it really is, I think. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's pretty cool when a computer can, really try to figure out the meaning behind what you're saying. And they give some examples here. They have a little video, and I'll link that in the show notes, about how it works and how it links. So it's showing here that, if you're searching for a person, it links Shakespeare to the works of Shakespeare, to other things that are relevant to people who are searching for Shakespeare, and goes much further than just, as I said, searching for random strings in a document. So
this video kind of reminds me, there's some software that's been floating around for open source operating systems for a while called like brain mapping software.
Yeah, right.
So that's what it kind of looks like.
And they call this a knowledge graph, but I think it is exactly that. Knowledge mapping or brain mapping, or however you want to think about it. I mean, it is. That's what it is, and it's all done automatically and behind the scenes, which is always cool. So anyhow, we shall see how that proceeds. But it's just another case of Google trying to make things better
and being awesome at it.
Google usually is. Sorry about that. I had mentioned before we started the show, I decided an hour and a half before the show started to install updates on these computers. And of course, that means that every 10 minutes, Windows XP is going to pop up and ask me to restart you.
Yeah, it looks like the stream is sort of halted.
Oh, that's no good. Let's see here. Yeah, it says it's still streaming. Let me bring it up on mine and see.
Let's see if I can refresh and get it back. Might be mine. I'm on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that'll do it. And you're also streaming out to me, so I could hurt you.
Yeah, might be mine.
Yeah, like I just brought it up on mine and in the browser, and I'm looking at myself talking to myself. There's probably something wrong with that. So for those who don't know, you can watch the stream live. You can jump into the chat room with us. I see Ecom just joined us in the chat room. We have 3 other guests who are watching the video, and we thank you for that. You can go to techguide.tv to do that. Techguide.tv will also tell you when the next show is going to be, so you can put that on your calendar and jump in there and join us. Otherwise, you can always download the video or the audio at techguide.tv or in Apple in the Apple Store. What's it called? The iStore? I don't even know. I haven't used Apple in a long time. Touche. Let's talk about Touche a little bit. So Touche is this new technology, sort of new, we were discussing from Disney Research. And let me see who was kind enough to post that in the tech-related news on the website. That was posted by Ecom. Oh, excellent. And so what it is basically another way of interacting with computers. They give a couple of examples of, let me start up the video here. They give a couple of examples of ways of doing it, and it's basically capacitive touch, so that whenever you touch something electronically, they can detect that change and be able to do different things with it. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like the same sort of technology that they use for lights, that you just touch the light and the light turns on by itself. That's kind of the same technology. They're just trying to take it a step further. And instead of it just being binary, yes, you're touching it, or no, you're not touching it, they can feel how much you're touching it, whether it's 1 finger or 2 fingers or a whole hand. How's that for a pretty quick synopsis of the technology?
Sounds good. That's what I know about it.
So they give a couple demonstrations in this video, and again, I'll link to the video in the show notes. But one of the things is a handle for a door that you can touch the handle, and it can automatically change a display to Do Not Disturb or something like that. One of the ones that I thought was very fascinating, though, was using it to detect how much you're touching your own hands. Let me try and bring up this video here for those who are watching the stream, though, or watching the video. So they show this music player, and this is just an example, kind of a concept, but depending on which way you touch your hands, it will either pause the music or fast forward the music or increase or decrease the volume, which is kind of a neat idea. I mean, you could see people using that for, walking down the street and being able to command their iPod without having to pull it out and look at it. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
It's cool from a technological standpoint, but I can see it being exceptionally creepy as you walk down the road watching people fondle themselves to control their media player.
Yeah, I could see that as a little weird, but when people, already walk down the street talking to themselves with the Bluetooth set in their ear, I don't know if it's so weird to just be able to, do this or whatever, rather than having to pull out your device and actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's great if you can do it sort of in an unassuming gesture. Unless you want to be the joke I made earlier to Mike was the next Pee Wee Herman. Performing certain gestures to control his media player to play his special playlist.
And the gestures could be anything.
It's true.
It's a neat idea. I like it, though. I mean, I think it's a long way from being, put into a consumer product, but it's a good idea. It doesn't seem to me, and this is what I posted in there and we were talking about earlier, it doesn't seem to me like that big of a leap from what they already do. It's kind of surprising that someone hasn't done this already. And I don't understand why that is. Anyhow. So, in other tech news, Jake is all excited about some new hardware that's coming down the line.
Yeah. Well, it's out now. I mean, NVIDIA just released the GeForce GTX 680, which is the first card in the 600 series. Any of you hardware geeks out there will know that this is big news. To put it like in real life scenarios, I was telling Mike earlier that the new version of the Unreal Engine came out, and there's a demo out. If you guys Google that, you can see the Samaritan Tech demo. This is all real-time graphics processing. When it first came out, only the 500 series was alive and active. So the demo required 3 580s running an SLI to function at above 30 frames per second, which is kind of standard. The demo now runs on one 680, so it's extremely fast. It's pretty exciting. Up until now, AMD sort of had the market with the fastest card, and the 680 has kind of blown that away. So there's articles out here. There's one that speculates that this new card is going to kind of put AMD under, but that sort of happens with every new generation. The AMD card was going to put NVIDIA under, but we'll see.
Yeah, they always go fighting back and forth about who has the best card. And to 99% of consumers, they probably don't care what card is in their computer, would you say? Or whether it's on board. But for the gamers, that's where this actually matters.
Right.
And so I don't know how many of these they actually sell. I just looked it up. I have a GTX 9800 in this computer, which I'm sure was top of the line for what I could get for less than $100 when I built this computer.
Yeah, that's quite old. That's to give you some context. That was the generation before the 200 series when they started going to this simpler kind of 3-digit number. So you got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 now.
Now, by my logic, it has 4 digits in it, which means it's got to be at least 10 times better than the new card that's coming out.
That's true. You know what? The math never lies.
So, how much is this new card going to cost me?
About $500 right now.
$500, and the thing has 2 gigabytes of memory on it.
Yeah, but that's not really as important on a graphics processor.
That used to be all we looked at back in the day.
Yeah, but now it's sort of more how many cores the card has. The memory is just like if you have a large game that has a lot of like graphics elements, it'll obviously pull them quicker. Won't have to go to hard drive, but that's only going to come into play with certain kind of games.
Yeah, you're really going to have to be a hardcore gamer to get the full power out of this thing. I mean, if you're out there playing the new Diablo 3 that just came out, I guess you can have all the graphic settings on extreme and have no problems with this card.
I mean, that's true you could even have a 400 series and it would run fine, Diablo 3.
So I guess... Go ahead, what were you going to say?
I was going to say what this really means for the average consumer is that the previous 2 generations are going to be much cheaper. And this is sort of like the edge and, kind of exciting technology. Most people are not going to dump $500 on a graphics processor to play games. But, if you want to do, upgrade that 9800 that you have, a 400 series might not be a bad idea.
That's a good point. Although for my StarCraft 2, I've got the settings fine for that, and on this old card, it seems to run all right.
Yeah, I mean, software manufacturers have a hard time keeping up with hardware.
Yeah, so whenever StarCraft 3 comes out, I'll probably need a newer card. So the other thing I noticed about this card is it looks like it's got 2 DVI slots on it, and I'm trying to figure out what else I'm looking at here. One of those at least is HDMI. What the heck is the other one? What am I looking at here? It doesn't look like they're both HDMI, but I can't tell what the other one is. Maybe it's a newer connection type than what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I see that. That's
here it has. Oh, that's DisplayPort is what that is. It says if I read, it says it has 2 dual-link DVI connectors, 1 full-size HDMI port, and 1 DisplayPort output. All of them are usable concurrently, addressing one of the sharpest critiques of the previous boards. At long last, we can consider multi-monitor gaming to replace our 2560 by 1600 single card reviews. So you can actually address each of these monitors separately. So with one video card, you essentially have 4 monitors you can run off of it at a really high resolution.
Right, and that's the first generation that allows that. The 500 series, the one that I have, you have to have at least 2 cards to have 3 monitors.
And I see it also features twin SLI connectors, enabling 2, 3, or 4-way SLI configurations.
That is a beautiful thing.
Is that really necessary? A 4-way SLI with this thing?
Listen, if you're buying a 600 anyway, you're already way past necessary.
I don't understand what you could do with it. I guess if you were building a giant wall of screens or like a flight simulator where you kind of wanted the wraparound, I guess you would need more than one of these. But yeah, geez.
It's just for people that are building systems and trying to get, benchmark numbers. That's really what this is for at this point. You're not going to find any software that's going to push it.
That's funny. That's pretty cool. All right, so we shall see what happens. I mean, it's interesting that this card is probably far more powerful than most computers that are out there right now.
It's probably not a lot. I mean,
and it's just a video card. Sorry.
I can't find anything wrong with that, really. I mean, I think probably my graphics processing that I have in my current machine is more powerful than the hardware running it underneath. So
that's strange to me. That's very strange because I remember, back when video cards were nothing, were $20 throwaway. I mean, all it did was really just display text. I mean, back in the day. And it was a big deal when we had 32 megs of RAM separate on the video card rather than built onto the motherboard. That was huge.
Yeah, I remember a big sort of kickback. Everybody was saying, why do I need, why not just make more powerful computers? Why do I need this extra expensive piece of hardware to
basically another freaking computer attached to the computer. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. It's got, with this many CPUs in it and as much processing it does, and with the physics engines and everything else these things do now, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I don't know about crazy. It's sexy. It's beautiful.
Is that what it is?
Yes. It makes me want to gesture my MP3
player. Oh, you caught me off guard there. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, that brings us full circle then. Well done, sir. All right, anything else you want to touch on today? Or, I mean, that's really the big news that have been going on lately.
Well, I mentioned earlier the Facebook IPO. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I didn't buy any of it.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty stupid to do that right now. I think we're just going to get dumped on if we do.
So apparently it went up 23 cents. It started out at $38 and finished at $38.23. They were hoping to how much were they trying to earn out of that? $16 billion or something ridiculous?
I read 11 billion, but right, when you get to billion anyway, it's sort of like the graphics card way over anybody that right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. That is really crazy when you're talking about.
What do you think it means for Facebook? I mean, how long until the stockholders start pressuring Zuckerberg into monetizing everybody on Facebook?
Well, see, that's the thing with Facebook. Unlike a lot of online systems, is that they actually are already monetizing it. Certainly not as much as they could. Their ads are not obtrusive at all compared to even Google. they could do much more. At the very least, what they could do is in between when you're looking at your stories, your news feed, the very least is in between a couple of those they could throw some ads in. But as it is right now, it's just the ads along the right. They have the sponsored area. They allow anyone to go in there and create an ad. And they are targeted ads, which is why they can charge so much more for them. When I look at it, I see ads here for a credit card that I'm sure for some reason they specifically wanted me in their demographics for that particular type of card. They have C++ classes online, which obviously not everyone is going to get an ad for C++ classes online. Facebook for Business. They have some kind of bicycle corporation here. Enter now for a chance to have a backstage pass to the Tour de France. So I do like the bicycle, although not so much Tour de France. And it's so they're very targeted ads, and you can go in there and create your own ad and see just how targeted you can get. And you can say, I want to find people within this age group, with this gender, with these interests, within this geographic area, and show them an ad. And by being that specific, Facebook can charge a lot because you're targeting exactly who you want to target. And even if you have a big brand, even if you have Walmart or something, you can buy ads and specify the ad for that particular group. I want to find women between this age who recently had a baby. Boom, show them an ad for, nursery supplies or whatever. And that has value rather than just showing a generic, come buy your stuff at Walmart. So anyhow, the question you brought up is, does this mean we're going to see more ads in Facebook or some other way that they're going to bring money in? And I think that surely is going to come down the line, but as it is right now, Facebook makes a lot of money. And certainly I will put all the rumors to rest. Facebook is not going to begin charging people to use Facebook.
Well, I don't know. I read an article that said that they're already testing paid status updates. So you can pay to make sure that your status update goes to the top list of everybody on your friends list.
That is true. They are doing that. You are correct in that, which is really almost like an advertisement. I mean, that's really what it is. Instead of being on the sidebar, it's actually at the top of the newsfeed and only for those people who are already following you.
I mean, how much more stuff like that? Once you start getting, my point is, once you start getting stockholders involved, it stops becoming about the technology and about how we can make more money from these people. I think eventually it's just going to be sort of, the first road sign down the MySpace highway.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I mean, I think that Zuckerberg and the Facebook crew are wise enough that, look at what they've done so far. They really have made an effort not to make the money side of Facebook the big draw. I mean, most websites, you have all sorts of ads all over it. You have, including mine, you have these paid upgrades as what you're describing, but they're much more obtrusive. And in this case, a lot of people use Facebook and don't understand how they make any money because they don't even see the ads on the side. They're just completely blinded to them. And there's nothing else on there asking them to pay money. And I talk to people all the time who don't understand how Facebook makes any money. It's just, they're so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just so low key. They're just so not in your face about it. And if they continue to do that, then I don't think they're going to disappear anytime soon like MySpace. But you're right. If the stock, holders come in and really want them to go overboard and make bad choices, that's always a possibility. But that's a possibility even if you don't have stockholders. You have business managers who all they're worried about is making money, and they'll go in there and make whatever decision they need to make more money in the short term without regard to the long term. But I think Facebook has proven that that's not their goal.
Yeah, well, I saw a sort of a breakup of who owns Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg is like 24% or something, not even half. So at this point, who's going to be making those decisions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully the people who have majority have the same feelings about it. Time will tell. It's hard to imagine. Of course, we could have said the same thing back when MySpace was at its heyday, but it's hard to imagine, a time where Facebook would be MySpace. But I don't know if you remember Friendster. There was Friendster for a while, and then everyone moved to MySpace, and then everybody moved to Facebook. So, it's certainly possible that everyone's going to move from Facebook to Google Plus, but
yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I love Google. I think they are a wonderful company, and I, buy lots of Google things. I have an Android phone. I think that, the self-driving car is some of the best technology ever.
Yes, we should talk about that. Let's talk about that before we go. So okay. Finish your thought, though. So you love Google and you love everything they do, and that's why you are a big believer in Google Plus.
No, that's why I am not ashamed to say that this is one product I don't see going anywhere. I mean, Facebook really has it, and until they start to screw up, like we're speculating they may, Google Plus is just another option.
Yeah. And I think as long as they have that little bit of competition going on there, I mean, Facebook certainly is keeping an eye on whatever Google Plus does. And not that Google Plus is a better product, but Google has so much behind them that they can do whatever they want to do. I mean, they can market the heck out of it, and they have so much traffic already. If they put a giant banner on the Google.com homepage, or ran some competition to get people to join Google Plus. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do to start to pull people into it, but it has to get to that. You have to have a certain number of your friends who are using that system to really get you to move over to it.
Right.
So speaking of the self-driving cars, we talked about this back in March of last year. When I was out in California, I had the opportunity to ride in one of these. And what they basically are, for those who aren't familiar, are Priuses that have been modified by Google. They have a radar on top and all sorts of sensors around them, and a computer that literally drives it, literally turns the wheels and runs the brakes and everything else. So it's completely hands-off, and it drives itself wherever it needs to go. It's a pretty neat technology. For this demonstration in California, they ran it around this course that was built on a parking garage, and they did it to the extreme. They drove the vehicle very, very fast, not the way it would typically be used, but just to demonstrate how quickly it can react. And I'm going to bring the video up here again. I know we shared this last year, but this is a video of it on top of the parking garage going around in circles and through little challenges and so on very quickly. And if I had the audio up on it, you could actually hear the tires screech as it comes around some of these turns, because it really is going that fast as it pulls around. You can kind of see how much the vehicle leans as it comes around those turns, just because it's going that fast. And I have another video from actually inside of it. And you should have seen I should have taken a picture of the disclaimer I had to sign from Google in order to ride in this vehicle. For some reason, they were very concerned about that. So this is a Google employee who's in the driver's seat, and he's demonstrating here that he's handing us the keyboard to hold on to, and he's going to demonstrate that his hands don't touch the wheel. They're just going to be next to the wheel in case the computer makes a bad decision. And he tells me not to push any keys on the keyboard. And someone else in the car makes the comment that I should push Control-Alt-Delete. But you can see I'm having a hard time even holding the camera steady and straight as we come around some of these. I mean, it really is whipping us around. You can see that wheel spinning around. It was a pretty neat demonstration. So their purpose in building these isn't so much to go very fast and around parking garages, but they gave a great demonstration for people with vision problems, and they had one particular guy who's blind and showed him driving around town and picking up a sandwich and so on. So the big news recently, the reason this is in the news again lately, is that last month or the beginning of this month, I forget which, they got a license in Nevada for the Google self-driving car. And it has a special license plate on it, and I know that they were trying to get two things passed: to license the self-driving car, and also they wanted to avoid the... Oops, did I lose Jake?
No, I'm here.
Okay. And they also wanted to avoid the law that requires that drivers not send text messages or look at their phone while they're driving. And they wanted it to have an exception in there for autonomous cars, self-driving cars, so the driver could send text messages while behind the wheel of an autonomous car. And I don't know if they got that part of it passed yet or not, but kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think that's every once in a while you'll read about some technology that makes you think and just speculate and hope for the changes that this technology could make to humanity. You know what I mean? And that was one of them. When I first heard about it, I guess it's been a couple of years ago, I started thinking about New York City and the taxis there, and thinking about how, with GPS in your phone, you could, push a button that says, hey, I want a taxi. This is where I want to go. This is where I'm at. And you could, some Google computer somewhere could calculate the shortest distance from the closest taxi to, and just that sort of centralized calculation. How much fuel could that save in New York City?
Sure. Yep.
I mean, it's amazing. And then the video you talked about with the blind guy, this guy here driving around, and just living life like a normal human being, and he's never been able to do this before. I mean, this is, the kind of technology that changes humanity.
For sure, right. I mean, because as it is now, if you are someone with, and I have some vision problems, and I have a lot of blind people in my family as a result of a genetic problem we have, and, if you don't live in a town where you can, and even then you have to feel comfortable enough to be able to go to the bus stop, get on the bus, go to the, go wherever you're going by yourself. I mean, that's a big freaking deal.
Right.
And to be able to just jump on the car and tell the GPS, take me to Taco Bell, and have it do it, that's crazy.
So how does it know?
I keep using crazy today. Today's a crazy, fascinating technology. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I'm just wondering, how does it know, like, the drive-through? How does it know where to stop, at the speaker here and then the window? Like,
that's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
That's an excellent question. A lot of it, I mean, most of the navigation, the big picture, the macro stuff, it's using GPS to figure out what road it wants to go on. And then the micro stuff, as in what lane to be in and finding parking spaces and things like that, it's using its onboard sensors to look for the markers on the road and so on.
Sure.
But so I guess they've thought ahead enough to be able to put in sensors that can detect where the drive-through window is. That's pretty forward thinking. That's
how does it tell when to drive again? I mean, like, hey, I'm done giving my order. It's time to pull up.
I suspect there's a button you push.
Maybe.
Whenever, and I suspect there's some way you can indicate that, all right, I'm ready to go to the next spot.
Maybe you still use the brake and gas in that situation.
That would be intuitive. Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Yeah. So maybe they just program Google Plus to create humanoid beings to sign up for the the service, and then they'll have...
Yeah, just like the autonomous cars. Each of the autonomous cars should have their own Google Plus profile.
Exactly.
And before too long... Well, and that's the sort of thing Google could do. Yeah, sure, you want to use the autonomous car? No problem. Just use Google Plus and tell it where you're going, and you can drive wherever you want.
Stuff.
All right. Very good. So, yeah, those were just passed in Nevada, and look for more information on that. I'm sure there'll be more announcements coming soon on it. Thank you very much for joining us. Our next show is going to be Sunday, June 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern, so you can join us live at that time by going to techguy.tv. You can also go to techguy.tv to see this show and past shows and the show notes. Links to everything we've talked about, the videos we looked at, and so on will be on there as well. So until next time, have a good one. We'll see you next time.